While we were waiting to get the F chord under our belts, we were learning all the other chords in the key of C. Now we essentially have everything we need to play all the chords in that key. Here I have your scale written one more time, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. The scale is created with whole steps and half steps, whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half steps between E and F, and B and C. Notice I just called these notes. These are only notes at the moment, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, but we can make chords based on each of those notes. So not only is C a note, but we can have a C chord, a D minor chord, an E minor chord. Two of our major chords are preceded by these half steps in the scale. So C is preceded by a half step on the B, so C is a major chord. F will be a major chord because it comes after this E. So 1 and 4, the Roman numeral in uppercase represents major. 1 and 4 are majors. G is also major, so 1, 4, and 5 are major chords. Notice all of the major chords are followed by a couple of whole steps. That's actually what creates the major sound. C will have an E note in it, which is 2 whole steps away from C. F will have an A note in it, 2 whole steps away from F. That makes it a major. G will have a B in it, 2 whole steps away from G. So those are your 3 major chords, nicely situated at the beginning and end of the scale and right smack in the middle, surrounded by 2 other chords. 1, 4, and 5 are your primary chords. We still don't have a primary chord chart. I need to do that with you soon. The 2 and 3 are minors. The 2, 3, 6, and 7 are secondary chords. The 6 is another minor chord. It's a special case. It's the relative minor. A minor is related to C. The B is the diminished. The 7th chord is a diminished chord. We're not going to bother with those right now. So what we're going to work on are our 3 major chords and our 3 minor chords. C, F, G are the majors. D, E, and A are the minors in this key. We also learned right away that we'd like to use G7s. So the 5 chord can also have a 7 on it. It can be called the dominant 7. G dominant 7 is its name. We actually usually just say G7. The dominant version of the 7 chord is so common that we don't bother saying it, we just say 7. So you know all of these chords save the B diminished. So here's what you would like to practice. You'll need your chord chart. I will draw it here in a second. Go in order alphabetically so you can think of everything. C major, number 2, D minor. C, D, E, number 3 is minor, E minor. C, D, E, F, number 4 is major, F major. You have a few versions of that. Pick the one you want. The 5 chord is G, or G7 is an option, and A minor is your 6th chord, the relative minor. So you can practice them in order. C, alphabetically it's easy to remember. D is next, it's minor. E minor's next. F major, G major or G7, A minor. C, D minor, E minor, F, G or G7, and A minor. So that's one nice way to remember them and to do your inventory of these chords. Just do them alphabetically. We can do that in every key. Rather than merely practicing these alphabetically though, we can also put them in a logical order that facilitates us getting back to our C. These are called chord progressions, or you can even call them cadences. A cadence is a way of wrapping up a musical piece or a section by returning to the 1 chord. Usually the 1 chord. There's a few cadences that don't do that. So one of the main cadences we hear is the 5 chord, the G7, landing on the 1 chord, the C. A little progression we could do there would go from the 1 to the 4 to the 5 to the 1. These are your primary chords with a G7 instead of just a G major. So C, F, G7, C. I'll do it again, but I'll do a real G instead of G7. That would be one of the main chord progressions you want to practice. F has a relative minor just like C does. Its relative minor is the D minor. So you could actually practice that in place of the F. So this would be the 1 chord, the 2 chord, the 5, and the 1 again. 2, 5, 1 is super popular for an ending. So here's C, D minor instead of F. My pointer remains there, so I go into G7, collapse that into C, start again. C, D minor, the relative of F, the 2 chord to the 5 chord, to the C, the 1. In the alphabet, G is 5 above C. It works its way back 5 steps in the scale to C. D minor, although you saw it as the 2, it's also 5 above G. So G, A, B, C, D. So the 2 likes to get back to the 5, which likes to get to the 1. A is 5 above D. D, E, F, G, A. So A, being the 6, wants to go down 5 to the 2, which goes down 5 to the G, that's 5, which goes down 5 to the C, the 1. So here we have C to its relative minor, and then they're descending fifths. That's a term that you want to know, descending fifths. That's the way chords like to resolve. So this is a great way to practice them. C, tuck your finger into the relative minor A minor, shift up a string to D minor, pointer anchors into G7, start again. I'm going right to the A minor, D minor, G7, and on a C. So I wasn't actually playing C's at both ends of this, I only played one of them. Continuing that theme then, the 5 goes down 5 to the C, the 2 goes down 5 to the 5, the G, the 6 goes down 5 to the D, the 2, the E minor is the 3 is going down 5 to the A minor, and it's set up by coming from the C. I'm going to play these all 4 beats a piece, although this is a flawed number. You don't want to generally hear 5 bars of music. Usually I'd compress some of these into a single bar. Likely the D minor and G7 could be jammed into a bar near the end. But here it is as written, just without both C's. I'll resolve to a C and then start all over. So C to a related chord, E minor, not the relative minor though, A minor, descending 5 to D, descending 5 to G, collapsing into C, to E minor. We do that again. Look at this anchor finger on the middle. We haven't worked on that one before. That's something you could practice. The middle finger doesn't move. I reach around with my pointer to finish the E minor. So C, E minor, A minor, D minor, it's like an A minor with a shift, G7, C. I'm going to put the C and E minor closer together here. There you could hear I could vary the amount of time I spent on each chord. Hopefully you do hear that pattern, the descending pattern though. E's, as we practiced, going to A minors, to D minors, to G7, to C. Do you hear that the pattern is the same throughout? E, A, D, each chord is descending by root step 5 down to the next chord. I'm going to leave it at that. So that's your key of C. Practice all of them in alphabetical order so you've got an inventory checked out, but also work through these progressions. This is the most common way to see these chords resolving. Down fifths, 3 to 6 to 2 to 5 to 1. So short and sweet. Let's leave her at that. Talk to you guys later.